have three bad habits. The first one is that, as written in the autobiography of Yogi by Paramahamsa Yogananda, I have a tendency to embrace eternity and ignore time. But I think Roshan is here to correct that. And then the second one, much to the chagrin of my wife, is that I like all film actresses. And the third is that I like all subjects. So I just put together something, Chasing Shadows, a world unwhirled, which means we are all living in a particular world, a world full of mistakes, a world full of mistaken notions, a world full of words. I'll just relate one episode which I encountered when I was a lecturer way back in 1993. I was in Coimbatore, and I entered one classroom. Another lecturer was just stepping out, and he said, please close the windows, don't let the air force come in. So to him, air force meant something else. To me, it meant something else. So this is the kind of world in which we live. And so we are just moving around in worlds in this world. And I just want to tell you, I'll speak about three different topics which are very dear to your heart. But I want to disabuse you of any wrong notions you may have about this. And these are competition, sinecures, and rights. First of all, I want to let you know that the world in which we live in is very cosmetic. That's the word cosmic. So this is if you really want to find out that the world is cosmetic, you would have to get into galactical space, particle physics, quantum physics. So the world is made up of matter and energy, and it is also made up of the timeless mind. It is made up of consciousness. So these are the three different entities which are present in this material universe. We have a consciousness, and using this consciousness, we are able to understand that there is time, and there is matter, there is energy. And we also have instruments that are divine. What are the two different instruments? The world in which we study, the world of academics, is actually divided into two parts. We use two different kinds of divine instruments. One is actually, in fact, you can actually look back into the Upanishads. They say that there is Maya, there is Leela, and there is Om. Om is the sound principle. The moment there is matter, there is sound. There is always this cosmic vibration. From sound emerged, sound combined with logic. The logic of reasoning emerged. From there it emerged communication and languages. So the first way in which we try to understand the world is through sounds and through communication. And the second way, this is the world of experience. The second way in which we try to understand this is through mathematics. And we have this model. What is this model? This is a four-dimensional object, a four-dimensional hypercube, which is transposed into three-dimensional space. And this is these are different kinds of hypercubes. We are able to understand things in three-dimensional space using mathematics. So basically, we try to understand the world in two different ways. One is using this world of languages, the world of languages and logic, through which we have created subjects like linguistics, languages, literature, law, etc. The other way of approaching nature or approaching understanding is through mathematical models. We have finance, we have management, psychology, sociology. So either we use words or we use mathematics. This is the way in which we try to understand the world. Okay, so we move on. Through this understanding of what is outside and what is inside, I'm just trying to tell you that these three things which we try to follow, we keep elevating them into a certain level. We say that these are the kind of things which we should be desirous of. We are living in a world of illusions, and from this world of illusions, we'll move towards a world of reality. Competition is not that good as it seems. It is made out to be. Sinecures are not that great. You want to be the president of India. To become president of India is not very important. It is what you do after becoming the president of India that's important. To get a PhD is not very important. What did you do after getting a PhD? That's what is more important. In fact, most of the speakers have made this point about making these contributions. And finally, rights. Nobody is born with any rights. Your rights are there. It's a gift from the community to you. So there are different economic and physical models available. First of all, let us try to compare between wars, competitions, and examinations. And there is a difference between what is good for you and what is pleasant for you. There is a difference between what is simple and what is easy. There is reality. What is reality? We can attempt to understand reality through quantumness and relativeness. There is quantum theory, field theory, and relativity theory. These are the three theories through which they try to understand what the world of reality through physics. There is the mathematics of invertendo, which means infinity is the same as zero. We'll try to take a look at that. There is niyati and samadhi from Upanishads. What is niyati? What is samadhi? There is economics and altruism. There is the economics of altruism. There are papers by Dr. Gary Becker and other people which have fetched the Nobel Prizes about the uselessness of competition. And then the defining objectives of life. What is the defining objective of life? We should not be competing. What should we be doing? So there is this hyperbola of conscious existence. This is just big words. I just wanted to impress you. But we'll try to find out what this is. And then mortal life. There is subliminal transcendence. I'll just try to tell you what that is. And okay, let's proceed. There's search for excellence. Wars, competitions, and examinations. So basically, what is a war? A war is an exercise in self-expression, and it's an expansion of turf. Everybody, you see animals, birds, they keep fighting with each other, and there are these war cries, and they want to, every soul has this tendency to, it's pre-programmed to express itself. It wants to widen its turf. So there is unlimited self-expression, whereas limiting turf. So there is always this grand cosmic battle being waged. So therefore, what happens is nobody likes wars. Most wars are fought on another's ego. There is demagoguery involved. There is no reason. Emotion overtakes reason. Faith overtakes emotion. Men declare war and boys fight. This is stated by Herbert Hoover. So there is value deletion from the world's material and mental corpus. So basically everyone has agreed that wars don't help anybody. There is universal acceptance that this is not good. Wars are not good. What about competition? Everyone says competition is great. In fact, parents are encouraging kids in kindergarten to compete. You go and fight in reality shows. You find all these reality shows on television. Everyone is competing with each other. And in fact, all of you are going to compete in different kinds of entrance examinations. So is it good? Okay, it's an accepted canon in classical economics. It's an accepted motive in social intercourse. And markets compete, nations compete, bureaucracies compete. You just heard Dr. Phil Maymin talking about market efficiency and competition. Organizations compete, academicians compete. So there is a common belief that there is a propensity, or it propels to excel and incentivizes self-improvement. So this is what everyone believes competition to be doing. So competition clearly is not very value-adding to the individual. Entrance examinations, most people are entranced by entrance examinations. There is imperfect information and understanding. And in fact, you are actually participating in these entrance examinations to satisfy somebody else's ego, which is your parents' ego, your teacher's ego, your principal's ego. There is a focus during intense tugs of war. Basically, whenever there is a competition, is it a rational decision which is being played out, or is it emotion? Everyone says that you're not listening to me. See, I'm speaking rationally, and the moment he says that, he's getting emotional about it. So you really cannot. So there is no way you can actually differentiate. Your mind is a very composite kind of body, and it's very difficult for you to separate reason from emotion and faith. So it is definitely value draining. And why is competition, or how is competition different from war? The runner-up lives to tell the tale and also gets a prize for it sometimes. Okay, so this is how competitions need to be seen against wars. So there is a difference between what is good for you and what is pleasant for you. So now we are actually trying to deviate from this kind of motive that competition is something great for you. So let us try to find out what is good for you. There is a current ideal that resource manipulation is a right. It's a matter of right for you, and competition is a way of attainment towards maximizing those rights. Desire gratification. What did the Buddha say? Buddha said that there is sorrow in this world. It has a cause. The cause is what? Desire. So in fact, all of us are trying to maximize our sorrows by following all kinds of desires. So desire gratification as an objective. So that we don't know whether this is good enough for us. Intellect and reason are unreally divorced from instinct, emotion, and faith and intuition. Okay, is pleasant and good, are they coterminous? Man is trying to maximize his pleasures, now and anticipated. Is pleasant and good, are these things the same? Exercise is very good for you. Is it pleasant for you? Getting up at 4 o'clock in the morning is very good for you. Is it pleasant for you? Making sacrifices is very good for you. Sacrificing your time, sacrificing your effort, sacrificing what? Midnight oil. Okay, spending some midnight oil. It's all very good for you. Is it pleasant? There is a lot of difference between what is pleasant. So actually, there is a payoff between, or there is a, what do you call it, compromise between what is good for you right now and what is good for you later. So there is a short-term versus long-term issue. Either you can be like Atlas, he's doing a lot of stuff for the world, but it's not a very pleasant kind of thing, but it's good. But the other fellow, he's actually very happy that he's just lazing around, and he feels pleasant about it, but it's not very good for him. So lessons are that socio-economic good is not always good. Okay, you should actually try to derive pleasure from good. So basically when you do something, from exercise, derive pleasure from exercise, derive pleasure from making sacrifices, derive pleasure from doing something for other people. So that is the kind of approach I think most students, or actually most schools from kindergarten level should be training people into. So right means, and so basically as Gandhiji and Vinoba Bhave and all these people have spoken about, this essentially is the endless debate between what is right, using the right means towards the right ends. Okay, and there is now the difference between what is simple and what is easy. Is simple and easy, are they the same? We have vision, energy, discipline, patience, perseverance, etc. Everyone knows. It's very simple to know what is good for you. Vision is good for you, discipline is good for you, energy is good for you. Are these things easy to implement? No. Okay, forbearing all these things. This is good for you. This is very simple. I know. Anger, don't get angry. It's very simple. Okay, get up at 4 o'clock in the morning. Very simple. Impulsive, don't be impulsive. Very simple. Is it easy to implement? No. There's a lot of difference between what is simple and what is easy. Okay, so there is now a difference between what appeals to your reason and what is an instinctive emotive issue with you. Okay, so now we move towards some quantumness and relativeness. There are these dimensions of space and time. There is relativity in space and relativity in time. And what you see around you, had your eyes been like electron microscopes, you would not have been seeing this world in this manner. You would be seeing it in a different manner. There is something called, in fact, before that I'll talk about René Descartes. He had divided this world into two parts. What is the material world? There's a mental world. There are studies involved in this. There is a physical world. There's a mental world. And there is something called an Albert's paradox. Why is the sky dark at night? This is the question. Because the total amount of light which is being shed by all the stars put together plus the moon is actually more than the light of the sun. It has been mathematically computed. So this paradox was puzzling people. Why is the sky dark? And then they found out what is the reason? Doppler effect. The reason for that is Doppler effect because the stars are receding away. So when they move farther into the distance, what happens? It causes a redshift. And this shows that the universe is expanding. Okay, this is some kind of proof that the universe is expanding. But if the universe is expanding means time and space are expanding. When time and space expands, this is the observable world. What is it expanding into? So this is the question. Now it is expanding into a different dimension. If you want to see a line, you cannot see a line against another line. Can you see it? You need a plane. If you want to see a plane, you can see a plane only in a volume. If you want to see volume, you have to see it in time. If you want to see space and time together, what should you do? Transcend into a different dimension. So you cannot, in fact, the kind of world you observe is not the real world. And that is what cosmic physics tells you. And we have Einstein saying that no problem can be solved from the same level of consciousness that created it. No system can be completely comprehended through a set of internally consistent equations. This is by Kurt Gödel. All of these, there's a lot of mathematical theorems and physical principles involved. There is a subatomic world. There is a wave nature of particle. There's no particle. It's all waves there. And in fact, if you read the Tao of Physics, has anybody read that book? The Tao of Physics, you will know that physics also tells you that the whole world is one. The world of mind and matter is the same thing. I'll just proceed on. There is a mathematics of invert and do. What I want to say is consciousness, matter and mind. Okay. I'll tell you two things. I speak. As I speak, you see me. You hear me. The question is, where do you see me? Where do you see me? Light from my body is entering your eyes. There is an invisible screen. It's not a screen in the strict sense of the word. There is a screen inside your mind, and you're able to see me. You're able to hear me. You're able to touch me. When you touch me, you hear me, you see me. All of these things happen in your mind. Okay? So the beauty of this whole thing is that the mind makes it appear that what is happening inside is what it's actually outside. So this is how, if you examine yourself very logically, all that is happening outside in this world is actually happening inside you. Unless there is consciousness, there cannot be matter. So in fact, Ramana Maharshi has made this very important assertion that this whole substantial world, the substantive world is created out of the very same non-substance that makes up your mind. Everything emerges out of the mind. For more understanding and for more inputs on this, you can go and read most of the Upanishads. You can read Panchadashi by Vidyaranya Swami. There are all kinds of books in Taoism, Hinduism, Buddhism, etc., which actually elevate this whole principle, say that there are three essential entities in this world: consciousness, matter and matter and energy flow out of consciousness. I'll give you another example. If you are actually standing on planet Earth, you claim that the Earth is flat, which you know is wrong, and you also say that the Earth is not moving, which is also wrong. You feel that, you experience that because you are in the same frame of reference as planet Earth. Okay, so unless you stay away from, you are in a different frame of reference, you will not be able to see something moving. If you examine your life, you would have seen that you have moved in a train through time. From the age of 5, when you remember your first toddler steps, etc., you can see that you have actually moved through time and you are now presently here. And what does this mean? That means there is something inside you which is standing outside time. Okay, what is that something? So that is that mind which is capturing this world inside you. All this world that you see is actually inside you. So reality, as you see, cosmic physics, galactical physics says the same thing. Subatomic physics says the same thing, that there is basically nothing called matter. And then spirituality and other Upanishadic studies and Taoism and all other, if you examine these issues very logically, they say the same thing. So creation is out of and because of consciousness. The world perceived. Okay, the world perceived is the world of, it is limited by sensuous consciousness. So we have the difference there. In fact, there's an excellent book by Rabindranath Tagore. It's a very little known book. It is called personality. Personality. And in that, he talks about the physical man, the mental man, and the personal man. And there's an argument between science and art. In fact, he talks about stars staring from the sky. He says the stars are cool, stars are silent, and stars are shining and very happily upon planet Earth, which is its baby. So that is it's like the words of the poet. So art speaks in that kind of language. Science in turn questions art. What are you trying to tell me? Are you trying to tell me that stars are silent? Are you trying to tell me that stars are cool? Are you trying to tell me that stars are stationary? In fact, there is something wrong with you because you don't have a sense of perspective. Why? Because you're not close to the scene of action. So in turn, art asks science. That means to have perspective, I should be close to the scene of action. He says, yes. Okay, I'll ask you another question. I'm standing on planet Earth. I'm close to the scene of action. Planet Earth is not moving. Planet Earth is stationary. Then he says, no, you don't have perspective. You should be far away. So therefore, then the art says, see, I'm completely confused. You tell me what is perspective. To have perspective, should I be close to the scene of action or to far away from the scene of action? So this debate keeps going on. Ultimately, he says that, see, the real truth is that every morning you get up and you see the same thing. You see the world through your eyes, the world that you experience. But let us just stop here on this discussion, saying that there is a difference. And in fact, in the morning, I was telling somebody that there is a feeling among most parents and most principals, most teachers, etc., that mathematicians and engineers are more analytical than artists, painters, and novelists and literatures, which is a complete fallacy. There are two ways of looking at the world. One way is through logic and language. The other way is through mathematics. And when logic gets converted into mathematical logic, who did that and what is it called? It was done by George Boole. It's called symbolic logic. If you really want to use logic in a mathematical environment, you call it symbolic logic. Almost all the ancient Greek philosophers they created languages, and that is why the study of classical languages is very important. Whenever you see a word, I will ask you certain questions. Like for example, guru, the word guru. You keep hearing about the word guru. What is guru? Guru means teacher. From where did the word emerge from? The word has emerged from roots. Because earlier, when you see the caveman he only spoke sounds. So right in the beginning, what happened was they just created those sounds, and they wanted to infuse this with some logical meaning. So gu, what is gu and what is ru? What is gu? What is ru? Gu means ignorance. Ru means dispeller. So dispeller of ignorance. He is a teacher. Maya. What is Maya? Maya. Ya, ma. That which is not. Ma means not. That which is not. That's Maya. So that is illusion. So every single word in this, for example, economics. You see the word economics. Everyone talks about economic policy. Okay, everybody, you go to the North Block in the finance ministry, there will be a lot of Mandarins talking about financial policy, economic policy, fiscal policy, all kinds of policies. What is the meaning of economics? What is the meaning of physics? So where did the word physics come from? All of these words have emerged from sounds. And from sounds you create, in fact, man has a very different kind of a rational mind. Birds create nests, man creates houses. You can see that if you really want to bring about some kind of change in this world, ultimately at the base of that you need to have some kind of consciousness. A divine kind of consciousness has created the world. Mankind is able to make a different kind of change because he has a kind of conditioned consciousness. Birds have consciousness. They obviously behave in a very rational manner, but in a very limiting manner. Mankind also does the same thing, but in a much more expanded manner. And therefore, there are three worlds inside you. I wanted to come to that point. There is a physical world, which is what needs. There's a mental world, because the human being is not merely content. After a tiger eats something, he goes to sleep. After a dog eats something, he's very happy. He has entertainment. He begets children. Okay, he does whatever he wants, he goes to sleep. But mankind is not happy. Mankind wants to understand the world. He creates this academic domain, the academic domain of languages, the academic domain of mathematics, physical sciences, mental sciences, all of these sciences. And this entire academic curriculum, that is a mental man. But is a mental man the end of everything? No. I teach somebody karate. I teach Professor Mehrotra karate. I teach Shankar karate. The steps are the same. I'll tell Professor Mehrotra, please lift the first left leg. To him also I'll give the same. Abstract instructions, abstract documentation, the same. But Dr. Mehrotra becomes a karate expert, whereas Mr. Shankar doesn't become a karate expert. Why? So therefore, abstract understanding of the world is not enough. There is something beyond that. That is called the personal. That level of the human being is called the personal man. So we have the physical man, with the mental man, we have the personal man. And that is why the elevation of the mental man to the personal man, what is it inside you which elevates you from the mental man to the personal man? That is what is called personality. And that is why it is called personality. Okay. So therefore, what we are trying to do is, every person really needs to evolve into a different kind of personality in tune with his tastes, his background, his attitude, and we'll examine how to go about that. Therefore, capturing eternity is physically impossible. because you cannot expand into the whole universe. Mentally, there is an observer-observed non-distinction. The way to do this is to transcend space and time. And you cannot do that by expanding, by occupying the whole universe. What you do is you sublimate the I feeling, which means you get into meditation. You say that if a drop of an ocean wants to explore the ocean, it cannot move around the ocean and explore the entire ocean. What does it do? It reduces its identity to asymptotically to a point approaching zero. Once it does that, what happens? It becomes ocean. So this is what you do. If you really want to transcend space and time, you actually get into a very meditative kind of, that is why most people, they talk about a super conscious state. I don't know how many of you will believe in that, but definitely there is enough empirical evidence throughout the world to say that, or to state authoritatively that there is such a state, and ultimately all of this that you see around you, this auditorium, these seats, all of these things have emerged out of human creative consciousness. Therefore, this I feeling and yoga, which is mana, buddhi, ahankara, niyati, samadhi, etc., dispense with, because I don't think we'll have much time. The Bible clearly says that he who humbles himself shall be raised, he who raises himself shall be humbled. And Brahman and Atman, this is the divine consciousness and the human consciousness, Purusha, Prakriti, nature around you, the seed which is inside, the living seed inside nature, Swarad and Virat. Swarad is the hidden God inside you, that person who tells you that the train of life is moving, and Virat form of God, the God occupying the whole of cosmos. Niyati is the cosmic order of things. This is how things are designed to be. The theory of karma, the theory of samskaras, all these things have come out of Niyati. The Tao is the same thing in Taoism. There are three fundamental principles. Sacrifice is a part of life, change is a part of life, equilibrium is a part of life. There is Samabdhi is Sama. So ultimately what you're supposed to do is you're supposed to understand Niyati and get into a state of Samadhi. Samadhi doesn't mean death, it means balanced intellectual mind. And we'll get into that. So ultimately, if all of this is true, then what does economics and altruism, modern day economics says that only time over which one has any control right now is now. What does economics tell you? Economics says that you need to take decisions right now. The decisions are taken today. You cannot take decisions yesterday. Decisions are taken today to have a better tomorrow. Finance also, you take investment decisions today to have a better tomorrow. Resources. Economics is about resources. Economics is about resources such as land, capital, human technology, labor, etc. Human capital is a recent entrant. There is a lot of literature. Objectives of economics. Satisfaction, maximization, desire fulfillment. All standard economic textbooks say that economics is maximizing desires and constraining and allocating scarce resources across maximizing desires. So there is the recent studies by Gary Becker and Garrett Hardin, etc. They say that there is a concept of economic good. What's an economic good? If you have a mango, anything which maximizes your happiness or maximizes or increases satisfaction is a good. So you have one mango, you're happy. You have two mangoes, you're happier. You have three mangoes, you get happier. So they say that you have money, assets, power, etc. These are all economic goods. But the studies by Gary Becker, he has been able to state that there are things like this. Even when you lose something, you lose money, your son is not well, you lose money. Other satisfaction is a very very cardinal input to increasing your own satisfaction. So there is this whole theory of what is an economic good needs to be reconsidered. So what kind of actions do you need to take? There is the issue of market efficiency. I will not go there. Information power, etc. I have already said that market power in a perfectly competitive market is. So we are coming to the end of the presentation. Hyperbola of conscious existence. Ultimately, why are you here? So there are two parts to you. There is your material mind and body. From the earth, it has emerged. You are made up of what? Carbon, oxygen, nitrogen, hydrogen, etc. What else? Life. What is the difference between organic life and inorganic life? There are peptide bonds inside you. What is a peptide bond made up of? Carbon, CONH. Carbon, oxygen, nitrogen, hydrogen. So the viral world, the bacterial world, and something else. There is mind, there is consciousness. This whole thing has emerged from the earth. And then there is some other thing which has entered from some other dimension. So there is a material body, there is a causal body. You can see that there is a spiritual world entering inside you. During this small intersection, this is the period called time. It goes back to the same frame of reference. And then you have, from the earth, carbon, oxygen is created, and out of this carbon, oxygen, hydrogen, etc., a world is created. So from the transcorporeal back to transcorporeal, which is the spiritual body, there's a material body from the earth to the earth. Everything is a manifestation of the divine. The only place in the world where God fears to tread is the human will. So therefore, why did I say that? God has given you something called will. That will, there is actually God's presence or divine presence, nature's presence in everything. That is called the counter will. The rational will has been given to you. Every time you will be asking the question, God has given me this will, it's my right to do whatever I want to. What are the two objectives? The first objective is the material objective. The material objective is realization of the worldly self. We will see what that is. And the second one, I am not getting to spirituality, the realization of the divine self. That is not part. In fact, I just introduced that because to provide a background. We will get into what do you mean by realization of the worldly self? Does it mean competition? Does it mean desire fulfillment? Does it mean sinecures? And does it mean rights? So worldly life. The soul is created towards self-expression. There is no doubt about that. You need to self-preserve. You need to act in self-interest. There is sensory experience. Your eyes, ears, nose, etc. All these organs actually increase in efficiency towards puberty. You're supposed to use all this. And by using all this, you experience the world total. Through experience, involvement and passion, you should be able to have an abstract idea of the world. There should be alertness and perspective. And through such alertness and perspective, you're supposed to arrive at a stage of viveka, discrimination. Even as you participate in the world, you are able to understand this dualism. There is this apparent reality which is maya, and there is the divine perspective. So therefore, moderation and appropriateness are what you are supposed to be doing in your life. So alertness and involvement are definitely necessary. Moderation and appropriateness as a result of discrimination. So first of all, you participate wholesomely in life, and then develop that discrimination and detachment. In worldly life, what must you do? Okay, problems are inherent in this world. This is by Chuang Tzu. He has written a book called Chuang Tzu. So you are trying to say that I will have only happiness, I will not have a problem. This is like saying, shall I have only the above and not have a below? Shall we not follow and honor the right and have nothing to do with the wrong? Such a course of action cannot be followed. You cannot have only the above, you need to accept the below also alongside. Recognize that the material world is bipolar, pain and pleasure are inevitable. Accept and challenge or transcend this pain. The only way if you are going to experience pain, where is the pain felt? Pain is felt in the body. If the pain is felt, is it felt in the body or in the mind? The pain is always felt in the mind, because otherwise anesthesia would not work. So there are the different ways of actually transcending your pain. So either you accept and challenge the pain, or you transcend the pain. So there are different ways of doing it. So sacrifice and change. Sacrifice even as we speak, every single inside my body, inside every single atom, materials or matter is being created and destroyed. Sacrifice and change are part of nature. Accept and implement them. A life and future of unending pleasures is impossible, and it's not good. Such an ideal is not true progress. It results in resource exploitation and natural imbalance, unethical competition, human rights, universal values, asymmetry, etc. The ideal is to challenge life in the natural way. And that is through contribution, through making sacrifices, and by transcending this kind of reality which you see. The world loves contributors. Okay, individuals must contribute. Instead of competition, the new paradigm is contribute. Contribute the natural way, understand how nature functions, and that is why we have talks about climate change, we have talks about education, we have talks about all kinds of subjects, because people recognize the need to go back to understanding what is reality. Okay, compete against internal standards. All competition is internal. I'm just giving you the final message of this. All competition is internal. You don't compete with anybody else. There should be gratitude that you're given an opportunity to contribute. When you look at somebody else, okay, suppose you want to be a great Bharatanatyam dancer. You cannot become a Bharatanatyam dancer by looking at some other Bharatanatyam dancer and trying to defeat him or her. You are trying to find out, ideally, a Bharatanatyam dancer should have you should factor in what are the essential conditions or the essential parameters of a Bharatanatyam dancer. And then you start working towards that. Whatever competition you do or whatever competition you experience should be internal. And when you look at somebody else, it should be with humility, because without humility, there cannot be learning. The moment you feel that you've reached the top of a mountain, you become a complete fool. Okay, compassion. First thing you have to do is, what is compassion? Compassion is different from sympathy. Okay, somebody doesn't have a leg, or somebody, in fact, what is compassion? Compassion means that you need to contribute in such a way that that person feels empowered. He feels elevated to a standard of living, to a way of living which makes him productive. That is compassion. It's simply gifting away money in the name of charity is not compassion, because you're doing that for yourself, you're not doing that for anybody else. Sacrifice. You need to make sacrifices without sacrificing your time, without sacrificing effort, without sacrificing for other people. In fact, no life should be lived for oneself. It should be lived for the community. It should be lived for nature. Tomorrow is a function of 5 different things: heredity, environment, education. These are not my words. These are words of Ramana Maharshi. You should read The Wisdom of the Overself by Paul Brunton. Your tomorrow is decided by your heredity. Who you are today is because of your parents, your genes, and then your environment, your experience, your education. And then you call it, because if you have perfect heredity, your father is Albert Einstein, your mother is Madame Curie, you have studied in Harvard Business School, your environment is the best. Will you become the most competent human being in this world? No. That will not explain how certain people have become prime ministers and presidents, correct? So that's not going to explain many things. So therefore, there is something called, in fact, the waveform of life is very karmic. The Westerners call it luck, they call it probability, they call it chance. We call it karma. And if so, if this is why we are living, if everything is out of our control, education, environment, heredity, all these things are mostly outside our control. If all of this is outside our control, then why should we live? That is why you have been blessed with what is called the human will. And that is why the earlier statement was made. It was attributed to Plato. The only place in this world where even God fears to tread is the human will. Because unless you think about nature, unless you make yourself, tune yourself, program yourself in that way to care about nature, to care about other people, to care about the community, nothing much is going to change. So that is why you're able to transform this world in a completely irredeemable manner. So there should be harmony with the natural world. Personality, skills, information, I've spoken about this. What is personality? Unfortunately, most stuff in this country is about giving you information. Kindergarten onwards, they keep talking about information, they keep giving you skills. There is no talk on personality. People do not really understand what is personality. And most the path of life is actually, there are three ways of action. First you act, then you control and regulate, and you advise, and then there is learning. I won't talk much about it. Whatever contribution you make should be through a value-based curriculum, and that should be ingrained into the syllabus of our elementary schools. So passion and involvement, abstraction and discrimination, moderation and appropriateness, and communities and states will have complementarities, etc. Career guidance, governance, interlaps, overlaps. Epitaph. Okay, finally the last thing is assets, money, positions, other sinecures. So competition, you just forget about competition. All competition is internal. You're supposed to be contributing. You're supposed to exhibit humility. Epitaph. In the epitaph is asset, money, positions. Whether you become president, prime minister, etc. is not important. What is important is what do you do after becoming president. Okay, these are not objectives. These are instruments which will help you to do something good for the society. Bill Gates made a lot of money. He did not want to make a lot of money. What did he want to do? He wanted to contribute. Everybody, like most of the people who really made it big, they did not want to do that. Jesus Christ did not do that because he wanted to become famous. Okay, he wanted to do something. Okay, so these are all instruments. Please don't mistake the instrument for the objective. Avoiding credentialism. Don't run after degrees, sinecures, etc. It doesn't matter. You can always contribute. The world loves contributors. I'm telling you. The greatest. I am an IRS officer. There are IAS officers. You take the top 100,000 people who have made a difference to humanity. I can lay any bet on this that you will not find a single IRS officer or an IAS officer. You will find people like Mahatma Gandhi, Jesus Christ, etc. You will not find I don't know whether you'll find an NSIT graduate, possible, but then, so ultimately what, the world does not judge you by your degrees and sinecures, etc. I don't claim that I'm a PhD holder, I don't move around saying that I have a doctorate, etc. I don't want to be called doctor, I just want to do my bit. Because this kind of transformation has come about only about 5 years back. Before that, I was like everybody else, trying to fight my way through and getting angry with everything. Okay, judgmentalism, don't judge individuals, judge their actions. Producer, not the contractor, should be the king. Everybody becomes a contractor. Okay, in this country, the problem is because of inadequate administrative, judicial, and education systems, almost everybody is trying to make value out of nothing, and that person becomes a contractor. You're supposed to be a producer. Okay, when you die, your epitaph should read, demit mortal life as a net producer and not as a net consumer. Okay, epitaph on the remains. Herein lies a person who gave more to nature than he took from it. And ceasefire, peace, thank you. Okay.